That's how we own it.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Tamika D, Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the general.
And we are your hosts of Street Politicians, the place where the streets and politics meet. What's up, Mysonne? Let me just tell you something.
What's up?
If my wedding ain't like Portia's wedding, I ain't getting married.
Portia,
I could get married.
Got a couple dollars, man.
I can get married, but it's going to have to.
Mad now. I said, Portia, you was married now.
I want to go to, if it can't be like Portia's wedding, I'm going to go to the Justice of Peace and have me a nice reception afterwards. And then that's that. I want the husband.
She married the king of Zamunda. You know what I'm saying? She had the king of Zamunda wedding. She had two weddings. You know, we didn't make it to the first one, but the African themed wedding.
Traditional wedding. Mm-hmm.
Traditional wedding. And then the one that we went to was just dope, man. I just want to say shout out to Portia and Simon. You know, Portia be having a good time all the time.
I love that he allows her to be her. Our sister Queen Yanasaha was saying that yesterday, like he allows her to just be her. I didn't even know because I left from wherever I went, who knows. And by the time I came back, she was out there performing with Drew Hill. I didn't even know that happened. I saw it online. It was a beautiful occasion of families coming together, of friends coming together. And it was just done so well. And what I appreciate that people don't understand or know, or maybe they do know and they just hate and ash trolls, is that yes, Simon is very well off. And you can tell that he loves taking care of Portia, but Portia got her own stuff. She got her own money. She got her own businesses. She has plenty of things going on, from hair company to clothing. She's got the Amazon deal. She's involved in all types of things. So I'm sure she also was part of her own experience. And, you know, I was talking to bridesmaids. Obviously, Yandy was one of the bridesmaids. And they just said the way that they were treated, it was so nice and kind and sweet and just a lot of, you know, love and positivity. And you could see that illuminating in their marriage and, you know, in their union. And of course, the families and whatnot, it was, and that's what I mean. I know I'm being funny when I say, let's do it, you know, it has to be big, like this and the third. But what I mean is that the cultural aspect, because that was still present, even in the American wedding, it was still present. The fact that the actual wedding ceremony, the music was the best gospel music ever, every song, it was church. The sermon that the pastor gave and the words that they used to encourage them. It just was so many positive things. And of course, the two of them look like money. They look like shmoney.
They look like money. They're getting a couple dollars, man. People say, you know, marriage is love and this and that. And it is, you love people. But when you look at the kind of money that man got, that's a different kind of money. Like, I'm just trying to be honest. Like but you could tell that they love each other. Being around them from kind of like the
beginning.
From the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So seeing it and just being in the clubs with them, just being around, just there's an energy of when you just enjoy somebody, you know, and they enjoy each other. He's a lot more laid back than she is, but he enjoys her. And she includes him, and they include each other in everything. Like there's communication that they have that's just dope. It don't look like, oh, this dude is with somebody and he just here now. He's enjoying this. He's having a good time. She's having a good time. She knows he's enjoying her. They're enjoying each other. So there's this level of chemistry and the bond that they got, man. So I'm just
chemistry is the word.
Yes.
Chemistry is the word.
They got a yin and yang thing that they got going on. So, you know, I was blessed to be in the building. So I appreciate being able to witness that, man. Dope.
Yeah, our sister. Well, listen, you know, people try to say, oh, you know, she showed up. I'm gonna make me a t-shirt that say I'm a clout chaser. Cause you know, I remember a long time ago, my old boss, they used to say he's an ambulance chaser. And he used to say, call me whatever you want, ambulance chaser. But actually I'm the ambulance. Right. And I don't know how I'm gonna make it spin, but it doesn't, fuck you saying that this one is a clout chaser and my son is a clout chaser. Like, so who are you?
It's a beautiful thing because what happens is when you take the time to think that somebody's chasing clout, you don't even understand the dynamics, is that there's a level of work and there's a level of respect that goes in to you being able to be in certain places, and love that you have. There's a level of dedication that you have to what you do that people see, and it can be misconstrued by some, not even misconstrued, because it's intentional hate. You know what I'm saying? Because when you don't even know somebody and you call them out their name, and you decide that they clout chasing, that's on you. Listen, call me what you want.
But I want to put an explanation to it, right? Because I would imagine that when people say you're a clout chaser, that means you're doing it for likes. You're doing it for attention, right? You're trying to get people to pay attention to you. And that is actually true, because it leads to the next topic, Shanquella Robinson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, no one said that, so I'm not trying to, but I'm sure there was a hater that didn't write it because they might have felt like this is inappropriate time, but they thought it in the back of their mind that me getting involved, Tiffany Loft and myself, and then of course bringing everybody, you and others, into the situation, that we doing it for clout, right? I'm sure they said that, but people did not disrespect the space and bring all of that negativity to it. And I got to say that because I don't want to misrepresent. But there are people who feel like Breonna Taylor and other things, their family wanted good clout chasers. If that's what you call us, that's fine. Because what we know is that the State Department wrote on their report that there was no evidence of foul play on Shanquella Robinson, and they was going on about their business.
That's right.
The body was claimed and sent back to the US, and the family had to pay $6,000 to get the body back and to get her remains. There was going to be a service, and those people was going to be on about their business. Why? Because first of all, and I could give you all kinds of reasons in terms of the conspiracies in my mind around these government agencies and the federal government and all of that. But just on a very basic level, it's so much shit happening across this world. There's so many things. You're talking about the State Department, the United States Department. Okay. Do you know all of the things? You got the Department of Justice over there. You got the FBI. You got all of this stuff. There's crime happening. There's people missing. There's wars going on. They got so much going on. A Black woman who was on vacation with her friends that died, and the Mexican government said, it was nothing but alcohol, or they didn't even say it was alcohol poisoning, but they didn't really say, hey, there's something that happened over here, and we need to put some people in the hot seat for it, right? They didn't say that. They're going on about their business. When has this country ever stopped everything, stopped their cylinders and said a Black woman has been harmed, or a Black person, but especially a Black woman has been harmed, and we need to do a full investigation? It doesn't work like that. So what happens is the clout chasers come, right? The people, because when I spoke to Shanquella's mama and daddy, they was like, we just trying to figure out what happened to our daughter. We know that the story they telling us is not right, but we don't have the means, right? Her father was pushing the FBI. He told me the story of how he circled back. He was talking to Attorney Crumpinat on the phone, and he said, as he was at the cemetery looking for a plot for his daughter, the video clip that we now have all seen, it was released, and he turned around and drove to the FBI's office to get them to do something for his daughter with this new evidence. So it was all of that went into it. And of course, on social media, we were out there pushing and demanding that there be some real attention paid to this, but not just on social media. People was making real phone calls, sending real emails, and really going after and pressuring the FBI and the State Department. That shit works. It works. So and you know what? There was one comment. Someone said, and then it doesn't always work, but it does work. At least it'll get you, what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? But there was this one comment where when I wrote, I thanked all the people who donated. you know, especially the highest numbers above 500. I thanked them all. I talked about the people on that list, and from Kyrie Irving to Stormy Wellington, to Kimber Walker, to all these people, Grant Cardone. There were so many people, Courtney Adiele, comedian Little Rel. You know, I talked about it, and I said, together we did this. And so this person wrote, I know you don't think you raised all of this money by yourself. This says, well, first of all, unfortunately, under normal circumstances, I wouldn't even bring it up. It doesn't matter. But since people don't understand how things work, you got to get the record straight. As Claire Huxtable,
a little bit of straightening.
Claire Huxtable used to talk about getting the record straight all the time. And whenever she would say that, everybody in the house knew, oh my God. So let's get the record straight. First of all, there was no GoFundMe until we got involved. Our team, Emil Washington, worked with the family to create the GoFundMe and advise them on how to put all the pieces in place. And because of the nature of how fast the GoFundMe traveled, it kept getting shut down because, you know, people try to steal, then other GoFundMes popped up, whether or not is this the official page or not. We, through Michael Blake, who was our brother, former assemblyman from New York, worked with GoFundMe to work out all the kinks on the platform so that they could raise the type of resources they need for all the things that are to come around getting justice for their daughter. Then our friends, people we work closely with, were the first people to come forward with enough of with big enough numbers in terms of what they donated and how they got their friends together to donate. And that is how the GoFundMe dropped from, it grew from great numbers to astronomical, in just amazing in terms of what people came together to do. So no, it doesn't mean we did it all by ourselves. That's why we said we did it together. But you will not take from us. You will not take from us what we do every single day out here and how we try to work with families and others to help them through their grief and through the trauma that they experience. So if that makes us clout chasers, and if being a clout chaser means that you're trying to get the most attention possible, and that attention helps to bring justice or a little bit of peace to someone, a family, or something to our communities, then damn it, sign me up. Sign me up. You
said a mouthful. I ain't even got to say nothing after that, man, because the work, somebody got to do the work that y'all ain't willing to do. So call us whatever you want to call us, but we know at the end of the day, these families appreciate it. You know, we give whatever we can. We try to stand with them. We try to, you know, advise them about things that we know, and we also try to get them the resources that they need along this process. You know, nothing can give you back your family member. Nothing's going to give them back Shakilla. But we understand that when it's time to pay for those, when it's time to pay for the, you know, the going home services, those things need to be paid for. When it's time to get investigators and all of these people that's going to need to find out all the things and pay for how to find these people that are hiding. Like, there is really things going on. So if you're not really pretty much about to do anything, don't worry about us. You don't even need to write that. We heard you say the cloud. We heard it already. You ain't got to keep writing the same thing.
Yes, well, I'm gonna get me a shirt because I'm with it. Anyway, speaking of clout chasing, or whatever, I guess we're now going to take that, and I'm going to use that term in a more positive way. But I will say that I posted something today, and then I saw right before we started doing the show that you were talking about the issue of the internet and how the internet is, the internet is a dangerous place if it is not used properly, right? My hashtag on my post today was that the internet is killing us. And I hope it didn't go over people's heads, because the way that the internet is used sometimes, first of all, too often, as a means to escalate tensions among all kinds of people. It's not just beef between, two rappers or certain communities. it's a lot of issues that once it gets to the internet, it can get exploited in a way that is very dangerous. You have people, young kids out here that are dying by suicide. You've got trans people that are dying also because, one, their issues are never really talked about in major platforms, but also because of the way that other people feel in terms of shame and things of that sort. There's a lot of stuff going on that this internet increases. And also just looking at the way that the internet makes the Black man look so dangerous, a murderer, whatever, just so a robber or whatever. It's so dangerous the way that we are depicted and the way the internet exposes it and escalates it, that it really literally puts our lives in danger every single day. Yes, the internet can be used for some good things. Yes, we can get together and help Shanquella Robinson's family, but we also have to be very mindful of what we are invested in. And we are so, I was going to say schizophrenic, but it's disrespectful to use that term because there are people who suffer with that. We're so confused. We're so confused that we will help people die or help them kill themselves and or one another. And then on the other hand, be so, so I hate that this happened to this person and we're so sad about it. We got to figure this out. Yeah. You know what I mean? We got to figure
the thing is, there are people invested in what you're talking about, right? So they're not trying to they have figured it out. They figured out that the more that I agitate and I instigate and I promote negativity, it brings views to these channels. And the more that I get views, that's content, and the more that I get paid for advertisement. And these companies assign me, don't matter what it is, and if it's negative or whatever, I don't care. They're invested in that. So it's very dangerous because when you look at the post that I posted, and even though the conflict happened, the headlines that they post, they create a violent atmosphere, right? So if me and you was just arguing on our page, and only the people that know us know it, cool. It's still a lot of people. But the minute that other blog sites and other, sites that have 5, 10 million, 5, 6 million, start taking the worst part of that argument, right? When I said I'm gonna hit you in the face, all the other times I might be like, yo, I don't got no beef with you, bro. This shit is stupid. And they don't promote that part. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for the part where, he said he's gonna punch him in the face. And that's what they do. So somebody who was told that they're gonna get punched in the face, right, forgets that we actually squashed the beef. They just see that this part is being promoted wrong. And now I feel my ego is like, damn, the world is seeing you punk me. So what I need some get back. Or my friends who love me are seeing me or thinking that I'm getting punked. So they're going to retaliate against you or your friends when they see you, or just fans of mine who love me that don't really care for you. It creates an atmosphere for them to want to do something to you, and people, and they know this happens because there's a track record. They see it keep happening. These kids is dying over internet beef, and they know that. But they've made a conscious decision that they don't have a responsibility. And only thing they're responsible to do is to make money and get headlines that people want to pay attention to. And that's what it is. So until there's a real reckoning to where the culture is like, nah, we're not even letting you feel comfortable in this. Right now, the people who are doing it are comfortable. So they want to do the interview and they want to get some clout from it. They want to get somebody to buy their record if it's coming out. So they'll sit down with these, I don't even know what to call them no more, but they sit down with them and they utilize them for content, and they talk about that. And then as soon as they get into a beef, they create the atmosphere for it to turn into death or prison. So
or prison. And that's the other piece. We dying in more ways than one. I woke up this morning, last night, while traveling back from Georgia, I noticed that it was brewing. I saw it. I saw several blogs posting about beef between two rappers. And then by the morning, it was everywhere. And I said, I feel compelled you know, and I couldn't even just call out one blog. It would have been wonderful if I could have just said, oh, this one posted or that one posted it. But it was so many places that at that point, it doesn't even matter anymore. Now I feel like sometimes I don't think people understand how we all play a role. When I speak to students, I always say to them, be careful about sharing negative content between your friends when they get into it, right? Like, you don't gotta amp it by putting it on the internet, because once you do that, you're helping to create, as you said, ego gets involved. One of our friends, Erica Ford, out in Queens, that does very important anti-violence work at Life Camp. She talks about the fact that, and for the, you know, again, I'm trying not to say people's names because we're not trying to promote the same stuff ourselves, but she talks about 2 camps in Queens that was beefing years ago. Both of the individuals who are major artists have moved away, lived completely different lives, and there are kids still dying today over that beef from way back then. They're still dying over that beef. Same thing, you go to Chicago right now and try to find out what's the issue between, what is it, Cabrini Green and some other housing projects. What's the problem? This is great grandfather shit that's been going on for 30 years, 40 years in these communities, and it's still carrying on over something that probably was not even the people who had the beef in the first place. It ain't even that serious. So we have to think about that when you're sharing it and you're promoting this information. What is the goal? What are we trying to do? Because guess what? And I'll say this and be done with it. Even though I started out by saying it's a lot of conflict between a lot of people, a lot of communities, and the internet exploits it all. Guess what? We the ones dying. Our kids are the ones that are dying on a daily basis. So other communities might be going through their shit too, but ain't nobody dying like Black people are dying and like young Black people are dying. So when do we all take a responsibility and get in the game? Responsibility. My thought of the day. I know folks gonna say, I don't want to vote, I don't care about voting, this and that, and that's fine. I ain't trying to convince you. I'm talking to the ones who understand. There is an agenda in this country, Mysonne Lennon, and the agenda, right? The agenda is very detrimental and dangerous to us as people of color, as Black folks, and particularly marginalized communities. All you got to do is listen to Herschel Walker talk and listen to the people that support him and the people he supports. That's all you got to do. You don't got to take Tamika Mallory's word for it. Just go do your own research. Listen to the man speak. And I'm not talking about his lack of the right words to say or the shit, because sometimes some of the shit, the way he say it, my family members talk that way. I hear white folks talking that way. I hear a lot of people that speak that way, especially when you're somebody that's from the South and this is just how you communicate. That's not the issue. Because for us to narrow it down to that, we're actually missing the real point. I don't give a shit. I don't care if he use slang, country talk, Southern boy.
You're saying some shit that's been be detrimental to your motherfucking life.
You gotta listen to what the man is saying, the people who support him and the people who he's talking about supporting. And this is what you gotta listen to. I am not sitting here telling you that Raphael Warnock is perfect or even, listen, when I watched, and by the way, I know Raphael Warnock very well. Raphael Warnock, I consider to be a friend. Right? But when I saw the white woman speaking to him about her issue, and then I wasn't there, so I can't tell you all the things that happened. I'm just talking about on face value. Then a Black man walks up to him and asks him about reparations, and he brushed him off, didn't want to talk about that issue. And I know they'll say, well, no, it was because the way the man approached him, and it was this and it was that. Okay, I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure.
Because your base.
But I know exactly. I know how the Democrats do around the issue of reparations and how they run from and don't want to discuss it. And they use it. They say it's a hot button. It's a hot rail issue, a third rail issue, and they don't want to talk about it. So it makes sense that you would brush off a Black man who wanted to speak to you about something. And Raphael Warnock actually knows better. Reverend Warnock knows better, okay? Dr. Warnock knows better. Senator Warnock knows better. But it is the way that Democrats have boxed themselves in, and I guess a lot of ways, which we talked about, some Black folks see the Republican Party doing something else and they like, well, shit, I like that. I like what they're doing. Just saying whatever the hell they need to say and standing 10 toes down on their position. Only thing is we want the position to be morally on code. That's the only difference, right? All I'm saying is that December 6th is the last day to vote. It's not the beginning, it is the end. And between now and then, early voting is happening. Ask yourself why Georgia, the state of Georgia, would go to court to try to stop people from voting on Saturday. Why would the state of Georgia try to stop? That's my thought of the day today. Why would the state of Georgia want to cancel early voting on Saturday, which is a day when most Black folks would go and do their last minute voting? Why would they want to tamper with early voting if they thought that whether it be, if they wanted a fair election, Senator Warnock or Herschel Walker, they're trying to rig the system so that the agenda that they have decided on, putting judges in the courts, conservative judges in the courts. We've already talked on this show many times about things that's happening in the courts around this country. Okay, abortion rights, which is your right to choose, locking people up, more mass incarceration, all of those things. And the list goes on and on. That's their agenda. And Herschel Walker is going to be one of those to help uphold it. So do what you think you should do. And by the way, stand on your square. If you want to vote for him, you go and you do that so that history can record where you stood. But to stay home and do nothing is, to me, asinine.
Makes no sense, man. Like I said, I'm nonpartisan.
You're not nonpartisan. That is a lie. You think you know you're not.
I just don't like the people. Like I can't see me voting for Herschel Walker. I'm just like, what am I? Like, I was sitting there looking at these people like, am I in the twilight zone? Sometimes I really just sit there and I'm like, wow, this right here is who they got running for. This is the man right here. They're running for the place, man.
Half of America supports these people.
And it's just like when you sit there and you think about that, you say, wow. You got to think about the mindset of the individual that's going to vote for Herschel Walker. That's how I've been like, you got to sit there. Like, what are you actually thinking? Like, what is it that you invested in? What are you putting your vote? Like, what do you see happening? You understand? Like, what is it exactly that you are doing? And it's just like, I just be taking back.
And so am I.
God help us.
Moving on. So we've got a good guest on today. We're trying to close this year out strong, nice, with these good old financial experts, health experts, all about our empowerment, man. And this story is so inspiring. Of course, we love Steve Harvey and have had the opportunity to spend time with him in a social setting. And even in the social setting, he's still educating and mentoring and teaching and working on personal development with folks around him, and especially us as people who are younger than him. And just to see what the team looks like of all these people who come together every day to work on his empire, and those that he empowers, is really, really, really such just a brilliant story and so inspiring. And the young man that we have joining us today is no less inspiring, even on his own, a super brilliant businessman, business development expert, and who works really closely with Steve Harvey. So let's introduce this young man. His name is Thabiti Stephens. He is the Chief Strategy Officer and International Business Development Officer for, Business Development Director for Steve Harvey Global. He also runs all of Steve Harvey's Middle Eastern work and things that he's doing in Africa. He owns the rights to, or helps Steve to acquire the rights to Family Feud Africa. So there's so much going on. And the story of how they come together is so powerful. So let's get Thabiti on with us to talk about his life with Steve Harvey.
Well, welcome to BD, man. I just want to say we're happy to have you, man.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, off camera, you all have a big platform, so I'm aware of the show and just love what you all are really doing for the community, like just spotlighting. And you all say a lot of real things, so I just appreciate y'all, and I'm actually excited. So, let's go.
Well, I just want to thank you. And I just want to know, like, how old are you? Because when I'm listening to this bio, it sounds like we're talking about like a 50, 60-year-old man.
Yeah, so I just turned 30 in July. So I'm getting up there.
Wow, 30 years old. Well, I just want to say we appreciate you. The hard work that you had to do to reach these levels, man, is crazy. So as a Black man, I just want to salute you, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, but we just getting started.
Yeah, so this story that I've heard on the internet so many times, and I was really inspired by it, is one of the reasons why we wanted to have you to come up here. It's the story for me means so many different things. You are best friends with Steve Harvey's son. He was best man, I think, at your wedding.
And he's going to be best man.
He's going to be best man. Okay, see? And he was asked by his dad to work with him. So Steve tried to recruit his son to come and work with him, looking for that young, fresh energy. And his son said, no, actually, Dad, you need to sit down and work with Thabiti Stephens, my friend, right? He knew you already, obviously, but he was trying to give his son an opportunity. And his son, and this is what I mean by how layered it is, this young man, instead of just trying to figure it out on his own, maybe doing a good job, maybe not, he said, no, I know my homeboy is more a fit for this position, and he's someone you need to work with. People don't pass along opportunities like that, number one. And two, for Steve to take his advice and then trust you, that's also pretty powerful. How did that feel, and how did that experience unfold?
So to answer how it felt, it felt unreal, right? I never in a million years, you don't become friends with somebody because of who their parents are. At least I don't, he's my best friend, not because he's Steve Harvey's son, but because I know, we met our first day of school at Morehouse. And I know that, I've seen him break his hand, helping me not get beat up. And, he really has my back, right? So I judge him on the character. And that's probably why he recommended me for the position. But Broderick and I met at Morehouse. So we became friends at Morehouse. I had a shoe company called Steps by Stevens. So for every pair of shoes that I sold, we'll provide meals to women and children's shelters nationwide. And Broderick used to help me with my creative direction for that. So we did really well, did that all throughout school. And Mr. Harvey has his mentorship camp. So the Steve and Marjorie Harvey Foundation, they throw a mentorship camp where they foster, just try to teach fatherless boys manhood, the most at-risk youth, just show them opportunity and a way out. And I think sophomore, junior year, I went to the camp with Broderick. And I thought we were just gonna be having fun, but Broderick ended up working. And, if your best friend is working, you spending the night at his house, I'm not about to play basketball. I'm gonna help you work so we can, have fun. Well, what that ended up turning into was like a reoccurring role. I built a reputation for myself there as a hard worker. And for me, I just saw it as an opportunity to meet Fortune 500 CEOs, because Mr. Harvey's put these at-risk youth around just motivational characters. So it might be the CEO of Under Armour, CEO of United Airlines. So I just saw it as an opportunity to kind of network and meet, new people. And then from there, Mr. Harvey called me one day and was like, hey, I love the work that you're doing. Like, keep coming to my foundation. You know, I want to talk to you more. I see something in you. You sound really special. I was like, all right, thank you, Mr. Harvey. I appreciate it. So we started just kind of working on small deals. You know, I started working with him like in research and development. And we were tasked one day with finding a franchise. So of course, me being who I was, we took it a step further and ended up doing an extremely good deal that I later found out structurally wise was the best deal to come through the company at the time. I was 22 and Broderick was 23. So after that meeting, Mr. Harvey being very pleased with the deal and how it looked, he approached Broderick and was like, hey, son, like, you know, I really need you to come help me on this road to $1 billion. I want you to help me come learn the family business. Like, I love all the work that you did in the deal. And I really commend Broderick because I wasn't even in the room. And it just like, just a testament to his character because he was like, hey, Dad, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, I was there representing your brand, but Thabiti executed all the work. And like, I know you want to give me this job opportunity, but if you really want to make it, like, you should hire Thabiti. So yeah, that's,
Wow.
I try to summarize it short, but yeah, that's really how it went.
Now that's real friendship, man. So what is your task? Like, what exactly do you do?
In my role right now?
Yes.
So like you said, I'm Chief Strategy Officer. So Mr. Harvey, which a lot of people don't know, and I'll probably get in trouble after this interview, but he's like a very sophisticated businessman. So he has an extremely sophisticated portfolio with a lot of subsidiaries and minor companies underneath it. But he's also the world's #1 TV host, right? So he's on TV and radio probably 12 hours a day, 12 to 14 hours a day. Yet we still have to run these businesses. So myself, along with Brandon Williams, who's our general counsel and our COO, and Christelle Cisse, which is like our chief development officer. Between the three of us, we basically all manage sectors of the business, right? And we all work with him because him being on stage all the time, we are the people who actually run the day-to-day of all the businesses. So I think I can't even name how many projects I have under my belt right now. And we build out teams, but my main responsibility and role is strategy, of course. So I spend probably the most time with Mr. Harvey than anybody. So I have a clear understanding of everything and the objectives that he wants to receive and what that he wants to do. And then, of course, I'll implement that. So managing corporate relationship with our partners, so whether it's WME, ABC, our producer shows, whether that's going over financials with our CFO, or any of our products in our businesses, because with his life being so big, there are a lot of different things that we have to look over, right? So I can be working on the TV show. I could be working on an international business deal. I also manage his investment portfolio. So like all our in-house investments. So all these opportunities, anything that Steve Harvey's invested in probably comes across my desk, Brandon's desk, or Christelle's desk. And if one of us are not on, it's probably not a real deal or a real opportunity. So, I mean, it's strategy, operations, organization, investment. I mean, it's extremely diversified. And I think it's that way because I came from a chief of staff role originally. So I was already working like every sector. So, I mean, it's kind of makeshift, it's not like I'm working at a Nike where it's like, hey, I'm a marketing person. I only do marketing. I work for a big Fortune 500 brand who's a person. So he is Nike. So I might be doing a marketing deal with our marketing partners. I might be going over a PR report. I might be looking at a gold mine in Africa. So it's extremely diversified, but I'll say strategy.
How often do you bring him deals that he's, unaware of or maybe not necessarily interested in, where you've got to try to help him see how lucrative it can be?
All the time. One thing I'll say about Mr. Harvey that I commend him on is he always says you have to surround yourself with people smarter than you, right? And with that being said, he might not necessarily understand exactly what I'm doing if it's a crypto deal, or it's it can be last mile delivery, or he might not actually understand, how to read a PE chart or understand how we're doing the stock and investment. So usually we sit down and we'll go over it, right? So Mr. Harvey, we all have the ability to walk it up to the finish line. But one thing Mr. Harvey is, he's very hands-on with all his deals. So he signs every deal and he's not signing until he understands. So I'll say 75% of the time it's usually explaining, really 90%, because he wants to be able to explain it to a child. Like he needs to be able to explain it to anybody he's working with, and it's his money. So, he has to commit to that.
That must be a very crazy dynamic that you working for your best friend's father? Is it weird? Is it fun? Like, how is it?
It's really crazy because, like, in our culture, right? Like, the first thing my father said was, "Hey, man, don't mess up that man's money," right? And he's giving Mr. Harvey like physical permission to beat me, right? And I'm probably the only employee outside of his sons that that he can actually put his hands on. And I won't say anything, but it's amazing. It's literally like working with my second family. The Harveys are really like family to me. I feel like it's a different level of loyalty, like I know no matter what, like I have his back because at the end of the day, is my best friend, right? So he has so many levels of respect for me. You're my best friend's father, you're an older male, you're my boss, you're a mentor, so it's a crazy dynamic, definitely. But what I will say, and that I commend Mr. Harvey on, it's like he really put me in a position to win. And if I mess up, he gives you the rope to hang yourself, right? So he really.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Has there been a time, you said crypto, and I know crypto is losing a lot of money right now. So has there been a time when things didn't go so well, and how did that play out? Because one of the things that we learned after spending some time with Steve, and by the way, Steve is very supportive of us. He's very supportive of me, always encouraging, very kind, and he is funny as hell, even when he's upset. So even when he's explaining something to you that is like, F this shit, man, he still is making you crack up laughing, and he's not laughing at all. So what's that like?
So to answer the question about messing up, I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. No one's a perfect investor, but we do rarely lose money. So, if you want to win, come with Steve Harvey and you can come win with us. But nevertheless, that happened instances where we've taken losses, right? Stock market, crypto is an example right now. BlockFi just announced that they're insolvent, right? So that's two major firms. It's probably about to be a crazy wild, wild west. But also, for every loss, I just try to have more wins, right? And for me, I take it very personal. When I lose, I don't like to lose. I'm a competitive guy. And my boss is also very competitive. But what I will say, he's super supportive. And he also knows, like, the best part about working for Steve Harvey, and I tell people all the time, is I work in 24/7 like atmosphere of positivity, motivation. Losses happen. Like that guy you see on the internet, that's really him all the time. Like I probably am a walking Steve Harvey, voice recorder or memo machine, right? Because that's the type of environment we are in. So and the times that we've taken losses, even right now in crypto, what I will say, yes, we've taken a loss in crypto. However, we have positioned ourselves and hedged our bets to where he's not taking a 100% loss, right? We've positioned it where your stop loss is 10%, right? 7%. So it's a lot of money, but it's also recoverable. So whenever I take a loss, he's not the best person to talk to, he's not the easiest. And like, yeah, y'all know comedian Steve Harvey, but don't forget, he still has that other side. Y'all remember the Kings of Comedy, and he's not the best person to tell something bad to, but he always takes it on the chin. And he was a guy who was homeless and lived in his car, right? So he always sees the positive side on it. So he'll be mad at me for a little bit, but then he also understands his business, and nothing in business happens without risk. So
that's right.
Nah, that's real. You know what I wanted to know? So what exactly do you do in Africa? I know that you do like Middle East and Africa. Like what's over there that y'all doing over there that you are focused on?
Were you on the trip? Were you on the trip when he went to Ghana for the first time?
Yes,
wow.
ma'am.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to go. I started encouraging our team, like, let's go to Ghana. And we did everything we had to do to get there, which it doesn't have to be expensive, but the way we wanted to go, we put up a pretty penny, but I wanted the Steve Harvey experience. When I saw him cry in those dungeons, I said, this is something that I have to do. And we did it in April of this year. And it was so powerful. So you were there.
Yes. Yeah. So, I was there with them. So yes, I was there with them. Yes, I do recommend one of my coworkers, Brandon Williams, actually, our COO, he told me something that I really commended him on. He's from Atlanta, Southwest, Southwest side of the, normal Atlanta guy, right? Super affluent, super smart. But he promised, he's been making money a long time. And he was like, I've never been to Europe. I was like, well, why haven't you been to Europe? Like, you go to places I've never even knew existed. Like, why haven't you been to Europe? And he told me, I promised myself I would never go to Europe before I went to Africa. And it was like, that was like a aha moment for me. It was like, I don't get, we're always so fascinated with, European country and cultures and stuff. We don't even think to go to places where we're from. So that's just a little tidbit. I'm like, I highly recommend everyone to go to Africa. But yeah, so while we're in Africa, so Mr. Harvey went to Africa for the first time, probably 10, 12 years ago. And he said when he got off the airplane, it was like him coming home to a place he's never been. And that was just so emotional and touching towards him. So that was his first taste in Africa. In about 2017, 2018, it's so crazy how it happens, because I don't even think we've ever even told this story, but we had got news that this talk show was being canceled by NBC. And that's the talk show they actually end up winning the ownership, like buying the ownership of his show, bought himself out the contract, bought the ownership, and then sold the show back to NBC. So that's, NBC really didn't like that, because they said it was the first time they lost the talent to an agent and not another network, right? So they ended up saying they were going to cancel our show 2017, 2018. And like a Harvey lesson that I learned is like, always have options. Like, never just have one stream of income, because that's too close to zero. If they turn off that stream of income, you hurt. So that's why Mr. Harvey always has a radio show, multiple talk shows, books, because he always has optionality. So they said they were canceling the show. And, instead of sitting in self-doubt and pity, and everyone in Hollywood at the time was saying he's over, he's done, he's canceled, he was like, he sat down, and we got an email from the Botswana Diamond Council. So I don't know if you guys know, but majority of the world's diamonds come from Botswana in Africa. De Beers has a headquarters there. It's like 90 or 80 something % of the world diamonds come from Botswana, right? You would never know. I didn't even know where Botswana was. So we ended up going to the Botswana Diamond Council meeting in 2017. And from that meeting, the amount of opportunities, Mr. Harvey met the president of Botswana at the time. And he ended up calling Brandon Williams when I was in the room with him. And was like, hey, Brandon. He was like, yes, sir. And one thing, Mr. Harvey, he says stuff and just expects it to happen. So he said, I want to do TV in Africa. Hung up. So Brandon calls me and like, did he just say he wants to do Family Feud in Africa? I said, yeah, man. So, and I actually commend Brandon. Brandon actually led all the actual legal negotiations and stuff for the license. Like, that was actually his deal. I was, there with him, but that was actually my first big international deal. So Brandon really led all that work. So I have to make sure he gets his credit where credit is due on that. But after Mr. Harvey said that, he kind of just got off the phone, and never before had it been done. I don't know if you guys know this, but TV licensing, how it works is you can have a hit show, call it Family Feud. They can either sell you the American version that's on TV now, but a lot of places don't speak English, right? So they'll do their own version of the show, Family Feud, China, India, in their own languages. So that's called a license. So you have to buy those licensing rights that you pay Fremantle, which is the parent company. Well, Brandon went to Fremantle and told them they wanted to do TV in Africa. And what I'll commend them on, like, they're amazing partners to us. And they were like, we don't think it's going to work. We don't know if it's going to do it, but here you go. If you want to buy it, you can buy it. So it got the rights. And 2018, Brandon and myself spent 125 days in Africa. And we were taking, I think, 6-7 meetings a day, because one, it had never been done. Two, we were trying to create a new wheel. And from Family Feud Africa, it ended up debuting a year later. It was the #1 show in South Africa, #1 show in Ghana. That's my first executive producer TV credits. So we did multiple years. And if it wasn't for COVID, we'll still be running now. So we're actually looking back, how to get back. But the thought was not to just do entertainment, but the thought, Mr. Harvey wants to do business on the continent. His main goal is to bridge the gap between African and African Americans. But how can he do that? The easiest thing for us to do is TV. But once we got on the continent and started doing TV, then all the other business opportunities started coming. We started meeting with real business people because we're there so much. So starting in TV, now Melt Africa, which is the name of the company, we're in everything from offshore oil and gas, last mile delivery. We're investing. We're working and looking to get in agriculture and infrastructure. And of course, like the same Harvey's Ventures, how we invest in technology over here, we're doing it on that side. So currently doing business in South Africa, Botswana, Ghana. We're looking at the proper way to do it in Nigeria, Uganda, Congo, and we also do business in Egypt right now. So that's just on the African continent. And that's either in, a lot of it's not really even an entertainment, to tell you the truth. But entertainment, investing through, our venture capital office, strategic partnerships. So yeah, we're in everything. And the main goal is to figure out how to do business, and then we can go to a Kevin or go to a Chris Rock or go to a LeBron and be like, hey guys, like we figured out this infrastructure. Now let's share the blueprint and y'all can go do it too.
I got a couple of dollars, man. I'm gonna give them to you, man. See if you can double, triple it, man. We're gonna we're gonna give Thabiti our money, man. Listen, my money on Thabiti.
I'm actually mesmerized listening to you. Sometimes we talk to people and we're like, okay. But just listening to you, I was like captivated by how easily you explain these things, the big words, because I used to have this problem when Mysonne and I first started working together. I used to be like, I don't want to speak at those places because I don't know how to use all of these big words, and it's not that we don't know them, but sometimes you just don't even feel comfortable being in these rooms with these people who are talking all this stuff and you just like speak not normal, but just right on your level, whatever that means.
Thank you.
And he said to me one day, he's like, yo, people don't be knowing what you're talking about anyway when you into these words. Like, you just need to speak like Tamika. Don't worry about trying to speak like the Harvard grad. Just speak like Tamika. It's fine. And I realized that my message began to resonate more. So as I'm listening to you, I know you know what you're talking about. You're actually doing this stuff. And you're not just like repeating some shit from a book that you read somewhere, but actually it's lived experience. I would give money to throw it in the air to go to Africa for 125 days. I would love to do that, but my life is just not set up that way. But I would love that because the time that we were there, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. As we got to the end, we went to Egypt, Ghana, and then Kenya.
Okay.
And as we got to the end, the business opportunities started to come. The people started wanting to know more about who we were and what we were there for and what have you. So it's very clear that you have to become one with the land and one with the people in order to get from it the benefits, of being there. So anyway, it's powerful. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Like, I really pride myself. Like, I never really, expected to speak or even get highlighted for the stuff I do, because I really just, like, it's always been who I am, right? Like, I've always been the person, like, I'll help anyone start their business or grow their business because I want to get more practice in helping businesses. And, like, I just believe, like, I get out what I'm gonna receive 2 times more than what I put out. So I tell people all the time, like, if anything, they're like, oh, what's your nickname, BD? I was like, man, I feel like I'm the hope. And the reason I say that is because, like, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Like, I'm the most normal person in public schools. I used to walk, 2.5 miles to the bus, to ride a 40-minute bus, to ride a 30-minute train. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was selling candy. I played sports, class clown. Like, I'm only one of my friends in high school to go to college, right? So for me, it's like, yes, I can talk and we can use big words, but at the end of the day, the message doesn't matter if it's not being received. So for me, I just like to be able to talk to people, and like, just because you don't know what equivocation means or how to use it in a sentence doesn't make you dumb. It just means that you, and a lot of times it's just it's not in our vernacular because the people around us aren't using it, right? Mm-hmm. So why are we going to use a word that people around us aren't using? And if you're not trying to get higher education, you're probably really not going to use it. So for me, I just like to be able to talk. Like, I do a lot of high school speaking. Like, I told you, I'm the only one of my friends to go to college. So out of high school, so I like to make sure.
How many hours do you work a day?
24/7. Like, my fiance, she gets mad at me now. I mean, so can I tell you what it really is? At one point in my career, Steve Harvey, I got the job at 22, 23, and I just kept getting promotions, right? Like, every 3 months, 4 months, and I started, like, he brought me in, it was like working your way up from an assistant. right? But for me, it was just like the opportunity cost. But, you know, at one point in time, I was 26 and Mr. Harvey was 62. So he was literally my age, the other way around. And he was the hardest working man in Hollywood. He had that name before I even started working for him, right? At one point when I started, we had 7 TV shows, radio show, we had a book, and we were traveling. So for me, I tell people all the time, like, if Steve Harvey has a school of success, this is like the Steve Harvey Business School. So people who've been around, who really listen, the Lalas of the world, the Kevin Harts, like, if you really take this blueprint that he gives you, they're all uber successful. So I felt like when I first started working for him, we were living in Chicago. Radio starts at 5 o'clock. We'll be at work at 4:30 every day. And then after he does radio, he starts taking his TV meetings. So he does radio from the TV station. We'll be at from 4:30 to 10 p.m. And he will do that every day. And he's 62. So there's no way, like, me being who I am, all right, boom, you at work at 4:30, 4:27, I'm sneaking in. Like, I don't care if it's a minute. Like, I'm gonna try to beat you. And if I fall asleep, I'm gonna try to stay up and like stay after you. So I think he just instilled a work ethic. And I see him hustling, and he has way more money than me. So if he's still hustling this hard, I don't have the time or the opportunity, right? It's like monkey see, monkey do. And it's like, I'm working with like Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, you name your great, so why wouldn't I emulate? So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not healthy. Like, we take breaks, I take breaks, but probably my first call could be at 3 a.m. And then, I don't know, I'll take my last one like 8, 9, but it depends. Like, I work on a world clock. So I might have those calls, and then I might also be on the set and have a few hours, or, we work a lot though, for sure.
Well, so what do you want your legacy to be? Like, you're already 30, you created such a bar for yourself. So what do you ultimately want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
He helped the people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, however that happens, I really, at the end of the day, like, the reason I do business, one, because I want to be a gangster, but I'm 165 soaking wet, so I can't, what I'm saying?
You gotta, this is another level. This is the real gangster right here now. I'm trying to tell people, like, because that's what I'm doing, coming from the streets and being in the streets, being involved in street activity, prison, all these things. And as I grew, this level of power and this level of machismo and stuff that we glorified, it never competed with these rooms and these billionaires and millionaires. And when you start to realize, like, that's what the real gangster is. The gangster got his family, he taking care of his mama, he moved, like, this is what gangster is. So right now, you're one of the biggest gangsters I ever met, man.
I appreciate it, man. I like, honestly, like, cats like you, Wallow, like, I really love y'all stories. Like, that was, when you're the smart kid, like, you smart and funny, everybody like, BD, man, like, get out of here. And I really attest to that, to like a lot of people I know, like, yeah, all the folks, I know the people doing it, and those are my guys, right? But I also appreciate them, because they'll be like, hey, Thabiti, like, you don't really need to be, like, come on, bro. Like, you got scholarships to college, bro. Like, get out of here. This is what we about to do, so.
And that's what it was about, man. But I just want to say, I'm inspired, I'm motivated. I'm gonna put my couple of little coins together, see if we can double or triple them. Just keep doing what you're doing, man. I salute you, man, for real.
Thank you. And then I want to make sure I get y'all contact too, because I mean, I just want to have y'all contact.
You told me it's playing.
Yeah. I thought the interview was over, so I just
Trent, we're gonna get you weekend this information. Look, you sitting there making billions, we gonna get some money.
When are you gonna start having children?
My girl wants, so we're getting married next June in Lake Como. I thought it was gonna be Atlanta, but so she's doing that. So she said she want to start on honeymoon, but I'm the oldest of 4, so I got kids in high school. My little brother just texted me this morning, like at 7 a.m. How many squirts of cologne do I put on and where? I'm like, okay, who are you trying to impress?
Yeah, he's trying to get in.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I think it's really empowering to know that you have been empowered by Steve Harvey, but then you're not, because some of our people are empowered and they don't show up, right? It's just the truth. They don't show up. They don't do the thing they need to do to be the guy or the gal in the room, right? And I hear you talking about the work ethic. So many of our young people believe that it's supposed to just be turnkey. It just happens. Turn on the phone, boom, $1 million. And it is not. Like, I don't know anyone that and I know there are people out here that they have TikTok and different things, and they just made money off of something quick and easy. But that's not the story generally. It's not, and I worry about our generation of young people that's coming behind, because they, the stress level, the anxiety that is happening as a result of folks who really don't want to work that much or work that hard. And I get it. White supremacy has created a situation where working yourself to death is actually making us more successful, but it's physically killing us. So I don't know the balance. I really don't know the balance, because we work all the time too. We live, eat, sleep our work, but it's not healthy. But yet I don't know any other way to become successful without doing it.
Yeah. I think, well, one, if you love what you do, y'all aren't really working. And like, when you really ask me that question, I don't ever feel like I'm working. Like, I got a spreadsheet behind you right now, and I'm gonna be reading it like this year. Like, because I really love what I do. So I think like that's the first thing. And then secondly, I feel that people do, like, they think it's easy, right? But it's the sacrifice, man. And like, I speak at a lot of high schools, and first and foremost, let's get this point clear. $1 million is a lot of money, and it's so hard to ask anybody who's ever made $1 million. It is so hard to make $1 million, but guess what's harder? Keeping.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you spend $1, you're no longer a millionaire. Right. So it's super hard to make a lot of money. And Mr. Harvey's favorite line is, "It takes a long time to make a lot of money." And I'm telling y'all, these Harvey gems I'm gonna drop are gonna be good ones, right? But he uses this analogy. He said, man, look in the first class of an airplane. 99% of people in first class of an airplane got gray hair. Want to know why? Because you got to work to get up there. It costs, unless someone's paying their kid, like, it costs to get up there, and it takes a long time, no matter what way you do it. Now, I do believe in working smart and not hard, and trying to become more efficient, with how I use my time and utilize my efforts, but you still have to work hard. I mean, it's not easy. Like, people all the time, it's not easy. Like, you don't understand. I've missed so many homecomings. I've missed so many birthdays, life events, and it's sacrifices. Like, me and my fiance, we ended up breaking up when I first took the job, because I was just doing so much. I didn't have the time to give to my relationship, right? So it's a lot of sacrifices, but for me, it's delayed gratification versus instant gratification, right? Mm-hmm. So my instant gratification is, I can come spend money to go to every party and miss these meetings, and instant gratification is going to the club, buying a section of things that would instantly make me happy. But what's delayed gratification? Delayed gratification is understanding that the sacrifice that I'm paying is later going to pay dividends. So no, I'm not going to spend this money, or yes, I'm going to work these extra hours, or I'm going to stay around just to see who I might meet. Right. So I think this generation, I think we're going to be cool, because I think my generation honestly was, we thought we were failures if we didn't have $1 million at 18, right? Because they made it that simple, or that's how it seemed. Social tech, the tech bubble, like, that's when we grew up. So I don't think I know TikTok makes it seem easy, because now everybody's an edutainer and everyone's teaching you how to make 100,000, and they're telling you the fast stuff, but they're just doing that because these guys aren't really making money off that whatever they're selling you. They're making money off their following. So they need you to follow them. They need to look like they're getting money. 99% of these guys aren't making money off of it, and if they would tell you that it takes time to make money. You will get some hits, but like those people on TikTok, how many Elon Musk are there? How many Steve Harvey are there? Right? Like 99% of people. It's this book called The Millionaire Next Door. Like 99% of millionaires are normal working people. Mm-hmm. And they became millionaires not from having a big hit idea. It's come from saving and investing and living below their means. Like, yeah, I highly recommend that book to anybody, period. The Millionaire Next Door. And it's going to teach you the habits of the normal millionaire. The typical millionaire has been living in their house 25 to 30 years. A typical millionaire is usually, have not leasing cars, to own their cars. They have retirement. And they have a normal job.
Mhm.
So hard work. You gotta work hard, and you gotta sacrifice and have faith.
You answered my last question, because I was going to ask you, young black boy coming from the hood comes up to you and he wants some advice. And, he says, how did you become successful? Give me some advice. What would you tell him, like right there in 1 minute, 60 seconds?
It's hard. First piece of advice is hard, but don't quit. And anybody under 18, the first thing I tell them for real, is all your friends are stupid. And you are probably stupid too. Like, let's just be real. I started a shoe company when I was 17, and I used to always tell people, everyone used to ask me why you want to start shoes? Why you want to start shoes? But now they ask me how, because they don't have that ability in their head to see where you're going. So I'm gonna say hard work, keep working hard, networking. Networking is the most important thing. Find a mentor. Listen, you might not find someone in your exact field, but a mentor is a mentor. You can find someone who's an accountant who can help you and teach you accounting, and then that could be the next introduction, right? Like, a mentor is important. And be humble, man. Like, it's somewhere bigger, richer, stronger, look better. Like, just be humble and treat people the way you want to be treated, because at the end of the day, like, don't be a jerk, bro. Like, this, like, how you treat people will get you so far. The reason that I got the opportunity with Steve Harvey is because I later found out was because how I was treating people at the camp. And, like, be willing to do what others aren't, man. Like, seriously, be willing to do what others aren't.
Well,
great advice, man. Well, I want to thank you, for coming up here, dropping us with gems. We're going to give you a call. We're going to give you some money. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get this going. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate you, man. You got a very strong head on your shoulders. Beautiful personality, man. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Congratulations on you and your wife. And, to wife to be.
Wife to be. She would say wife to be. You gotta marry her first.
Yeah, she tells me that a lot. Okay. Nah, she's amazing. Seriously.
Thank you so much, Thabiti. We appreciate you for being on with us today and sharing so many gems. You teach courses, man. Teach courses,
I think about that, but I don't want to charge the people, like,
Well, but I see a lot of people $97, because I know one of your big supporters, or one of Steve's big supporters for the foundation, is Coach Stormy. Actually, we met Stormy Wellington at the golf event, where we learned that she was like one of the highest donors to the foundation from just as a single person, not a corporation. And I learned so much about your intellectual property and how you don't have to charge people $2,000, but that $97, that $197, it makes the person honest. Like, this is something I really want when I go online and log on and pay this little bit of money to be in a community where I can learn. Because one of the challenges I see with some of the folks that are doing great things, trying to educate people on Instagram, a lot of people can't catch it in those seconds. So that's why those classroom settings are important, because you need to be able to ask questions. You don't need trolling and other people with their thoughts. You really need to be focused. And so I hear education coming from you. So I want you to keep doing that.
Thank you all for having me. I hope to be back next year. I hope I didn't get banned. I know the producers don't have their cameras on, so I hope they're not shaking their head, but I'd love to come back and help. And then also, like I said, I just want to help you all in any way that I can. Like, honestly, like, that's really what I love to do, is just like, I like making the play, like John Stockton,
Well, listen, man, I like to get the alley-oop. If you throw it, I'm gonna catch it.
Hey, let's do it. Well, thank you all for having me, and I look forward to our newfound relationship, man. And I really want to help you guys.
Right, you one of our friends now. That's our thing.
Yeah.
Hey,
we interview our friends.
when y'all come to the JR Cricket's on me.
You just left.
All right, cool. We're gonna lock in. I'm gonna see y'all. I'm gonna see you guys soon. I know, for sure.
So before you go, though, tell us where we can find you, and also if you have any new ventures, let us know about it so folks can support you.
My website is thestephengroup.co. So you can always hit me on one of those platforms if you want to work. And I actually do have a new venture, Off the Leash Media. I'm wearing the merchandise right now, and it's basically a platform. Think of ESPN or Bleacher Reports, but for like French bulldogs and breeders. So we're connecting the community. If you want to learn, if you're a breeder, you want to learn how to breed, or you're interested, you want to looking for some places to buy a dog or meet new people in that community, just come check us out. All positive information. And yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but apparently dog breeding is a really big industry.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of money, man. I'm coming Off the Leash, man. Make sure y'all go support my brother Off the Leash. Off the Leash. That's a dope look. See, you got good ideas. Off the Leash.
Thank you, man. That's what partnerships come into play, man. Like you have to partner with people who are A++, and I do the business. So I didn't think of any of the marketing, but that's why, partnerships and relationships are so important. So I'm looking forward to building a relationship with you guys. And honestly, we probably do need to book you guys for a dog show that we have coming up. So
Listen, I'm scared of dogs. I'm scared of dogs, but if it could get me closer to my billionaire status, I'll be there. Scared and all.
Thank you.
Off the Leash.
Yeah.
Thanks, Thabiti. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you all.
Thabiti, see, this gives me hope. Not to say that I think that like most of the young people are like, I don't know, not something. I don't even have the right word to describe it. It's just like I do notice that when I'm trying to work with some of the younger people, it's kind of difficult to get like a good, strong work product and people interested in like hustle hard. Like it just seems it's difficult. But Thabiti said something that I think is so powerful. He's into working smarter, right? So I think in many ways, they also, as younger people, have found out that we don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job every day and just do whatever we're told, but actually we can actually create and, and be strategists even at a young age. And I think that if that trajectory that he's on, if there are more young people, I'm glad to hear that he's in high schools, because if more young people follow in not just his footsteps, but really sort of model what they are doing around this idea of being strategists and not just workers, then we might be all right.
But it's still work though. You know what I'm saying? And I think he said you got to work hard, and work hard doesn't mean that you exhaust yourself and you run around like a chicken. It means that you are intentional about being successful, right? That whatever it is that it's going to take to acquire that success, you have to do that. And you got to do it constantly, because there's somebody else out there that's working hard. Even if they just sitting in their bed and they're on a computer, whatever it is that they're doing to get to that level, it has to be done. And I think that's what I see a lot of youth, that I see a lot of them have the dreams. They like, yo, I want to get this. I want this. They motivated in their mind, but the actions that it takes to actually get to where you're trying to go, I just don't see the energy. It's a level of energy and passion that you got to have. And I tell my own kids this all the time. I would love to give you anything, right? But I want to see, you have to make me believe that that's what you want. You can't just say, hey, I want this and that. I'm going to invest in you what you invest in you. I'll double what you invest in you if I see that you invest in you. So, listening to Thabiti, he understands that mindset. He understands, like he says, this is a billionaire who's got way more money than me, and he's moving and, on a trajectory of success. And I can't work less than him.
Yeah.
It's no way. There's no way I should be working less than him when he got way more than I want, than I have. So I understand exactly what you're saying about trying to be smarter, work smarter, but it's still that energy got to be there. Got to be that passion and that energy, man.
Yeah. And his personality is so, he was just, I don't want to say so sweet, because I don't know if that was it, but what he was to me was so authentic and just kind. And that takes you a long way when you have skills. First of all, working for someone like Steve Harvey, you're not going to get to impress him or get the job done just because your social media page is popping. You got to be able to speak to someone and convince people in person that your product, whatever you're selling or whatever you need from them or whatever deal you have is beneficial. That takes interpersonal skills. And oftentimes when I'm talking to some young people, I have to say, speak up, speak up, project your voice, stop mumbling, which maybe that is,
Confidence.
Yeah, and maybe that mumbling thing is also a part of the whole mumble rap and like what they listen to in entertainment. I don't know, but I find myself saying to some of the young people, even young people around me, what? Like, speak up. Now, as I'm getting older, and I'm not even joking, like I'm serious. As I'm getting older, my hearing is not so great on my left side. It's not so great. So I realize that sometimes I just don't really even hear. But even after I'm like, like what? Say the words, speak up. Because where I come from as a professional who's been out here for almost 30 years, you had to project yourself to explain your position, to speak with clarity, and to really capture a room, an audience, another individual. So that's the way that I learned. And I think the internet is sort of dumbing that down. And we just got to find a way to have balance. So I think Thabiti, he needs to be out here, really helping to educate our youth on what it takes to be successful. So I love the book.
Yes, man. I appreciate it. And that brings me into my I don't get it. Being a young Black entrepreneur like yourself. Shout out to my boy Mark with his Bear Witness clothing, _clothing on Instagram. He gave me this. As y'all know, I've been supporting all Black owned businesses, especially clothing around this time. My boycott of Nike. And, last week I made a couple videos of me throwing away my Nikes, and there was outrage. People made the page. Why are you throwing away Nike? Yo, what's going on? People could use that.
They made a page?
They didn't make a page. People made all types of posts. There was a post here. Mike did this. It was all over the internet. Mike Sean's doing this. What do you think? And there were people that, I'm not throwing this away. And I said to myself, and that's your prerogative, right? If you pay your money for something, whatever it is that you choose to use, if you buy a $1,000 coat and you decide you want to buy it because you want to burn the coat, that is your coat. It is your money. It is your prerogative to do whatever it is you want with your money. When I made my boycott against Nike, right, it wasn't because I didn't like Nike. I wanted to sacrifice something, right? When I looked at how the COO spoke about Kyrie and pretty much, devalued him as a man. And I know he was speaking about a Black man who I know is a good character, a good individual. And I watched him grow up in the industry under the spotlights and try to do things to be a beacon of light, as he says, and try to do positive things and always talking about positivity in our community and investing in our community and giving, money to the poor and giving money to those who have tragedies, always doing things like that. And when I heard this white man sit up there and speak to him and said he crossed the line and he could just sever a partnership that he was doing with him, it made me feel a way. It made me feel like I was watching a slave master tell a boy, like they used to say, boy, if you cross that line, we're going to do this to you. And it just didn't sit well with me, and it wasn't about Kyrie. People, Kyrie still, it wasn't so much about Kyrie was the conduit of what it was. His situation made me reflect about my personal opinion about it as a whole. So I didn't do it because Kyrie was boycotting Nike. Kyrie had his own situation, but when I looked at it, the man himself, the person who was benefiting off me spending my money, I didn't think he should benefit off it anymore. So I made a conscious decision that I wanted to, the same way he said that we cut ties, I wanted to cut ties with Nike. So I invested thousands of dollars of my money in Nike. And a lot of times, people protest differently. My protest wasn't to go give it to the Salvation Army or give it to this. I've given clothes, I've given food. I donate all the time. There's a bunch of things. People, you don't get to talk to me about donating. I know there are people hungry. And just like tomorrow, I might go, I got a bunch of clothes that I'm cleaning out here. I'm gonna go give those to the homeless people. I give money to the homeless. I do all types of things. I feed the community. So you don't get to tell me about donating. I know what that looks like. But my protest with these Nikes and throwing them into my incinerator was to let you know that I was willing to not have, right? I was willing to, it's pretty much like I'm willing to burn it and give it up to show you that it doesn't value me. Me giving it to somebody, that's self-fulfilling. That's a fulfillment. I'm doing something nice. I'm doing something kind. Somebody else is going to carry on those shoes. I don't care if they're homeless. Somebody might look at me like, damn, I like those. Where you get these Jordans from? I want those Jordans. It's still advertisement to me. You might not think it. Some people think, oh, if I see it on the bum, I don't want it. No, if I see a pair of $500,
we don't use the word bum.
well, I'm sorry, a homeless person. If I see $500 sneakers on a homeless person that I know cost $500, when I'm a connoisseur, it's going to still make me say, oh, where you get those from? Let me look up those and go get it. So that mindset that you have didn't fit me. So some of you might want to invest and you want to donate your clothing. I didn't want to donate my Nikes. I wanted to throw mines in the incinerator. Right. And I didn't understand why so many people were so angry about my personal protest with my personal shoes that I spent my personal money with. If you didn't understand the mind state, I said, and I gave, the analogy, if you have spoiled food, it's a bunch of people that's hungry in the world. But when I look at my refrigerator and the food is spoiled, I'm not going to go say, yo, I don't want this. I think it's spoiled. I'm going to give it to a homeless person. No, because I don't even think it's worth eating. So that's how I felt about the Nikes. I don't think that they're even worth wearing. I don't think that we should be me personally, I think we should just completely cold turkey. When Nike looks around and they like, yo, nobody in the world is wearing Nike, not even the homeless people, then we got to start figuring out how do we change and we deal with Black communities differently. But the crazy part about it was what I found out. So when I was leaving my building, after I threw about 15, 20 pairs of sneakers into the incinerator, one of the building managers comes to me. He says, hey, he said, I heard about the protest you were doing. Nike. Let me give you a story. So he's telling me, he says, there's a young boy, he's in college in this building, and he goes to the church all the time. He's been very, he's going back to school. He doesn't have much of anything, and last weekend, he had put $20 into the collection plate, praying just to pray. That was probably his last $20. And, we tried to help him through school. And he was telling me how he was in some real bad times. And he said he was working in the incinerator in the building. And all of a sudden, he opens these boxes and see these sneakers. He said he prayed so hard. He believed in God so much after seeing those sneakers. And I said to myself, that wasn't my intention, but God had his own intention. God thought that man should get those sneakers. So I donated them to the incinerator, and the incinerator donated to that man. So people's blessings come in different ways. My mind state was never to give it to anyone, but God saw it fit that man would get those sneakers. So I just try to tell you, everybody's protest and everybody's blessings and everybody's situation is different. So you don't get to tell me what to do with mine. God wanted that man to have those sneakers that I threw away. So that's how that goes.
I heard you say more than one time, burn, using the word burn. So I don't encourage that anyone burn, because we do have an environment to protect, and burning rubber and burning shoes and materials and all of that is actually not healthy for us and this in our society. So we don't want to burn things. I know the history of, C. Dolores Tucker rolling over CDs on the ground, which is different because at least we could say that, I forget the artist that it was I forgot. I know the story sometimes.
Tupac.
Was it Tupac? Are you sure?
I believe so, because I remember Tupac spoke about her.
I don't know. Anyway, so, because she was protesting certain lyrics, but that would be a a Black artist and a Black woman. And so there was some conflict there. I think over time, more people have begun to recognize the point she was making, right? So even if we still would say, well, you know, we don't have to attack our own, but we do understand more now that some of the content in our music, in the music industry from back then, she was trying to say is harmful to our people. I don't know yet how to reconcile those two things, because just like I said, we're all walking contradictions. I can sit and listen to Drop Down and Get Your Eagle On and all kinds of music that I know is degrading towards women, and still talk about empowerment, and still understand that those lyrics are not helpful to our young people. So we all have these contradictions of what we deal with as humans, which is off topic, but it's just my thought process of what I go through when trying to reconcile the brand, the people behind the brand, the white folks who are inside of these companies that have literally zero respect for Black people outside of wanting us to spend our money. So there's so many elements working all together, because even when I think about the music industry side, there is somebody that profits from us degrading ourselves and the lyrics that we use sometimes in our community that can escalate situations, that keeps us sort of dumbed down, or that really in some ways glorifies a lifestyle that we want to try to move our people away from. There are people that benefit from that. So, know that the two things might not be exactly the same, but that's one of the things that I've really been wrestling with when I saw you with your protest, and then thinking back to the history of C. Dolores Tucker. What I will say is that when we had the boycott against Gucci, I packed up every piece of Gucci that I had, all the way down to, I had gloves, I had little earrings, I had several shoes, multiple bags. Gucci was the first purse that I received, like when I was a young girl, and I don't know who it was. I was 17 years old, might've been my mom, I don't know, but somebody bought me a cute little Gucci purse. I still had that purse and put it in the rotation at, whenever I bring it back out, because, the classics are always, they're always good. And I packed up every single thing and put it away, and it's been packed up because I refuse to wear it ever again. I've not purchased anything from Gucci since the blackface sweater, in case people don't know why we decided to boycott Gucci. Because of the blackface sweater that they put out, which you can go look it up. I packed it up, haven't used it, haven't purchased not one item, no matter how cute the stuff looks. Like you said, it's a personal sacrifice. What I think is, I'm challenged by 3 points in this. The first thing is that there are people who want to try to, let me say this. There's 3 points on this that I wrestle with. The first thing is that my boycott doesn't mean yours, right? We're not dumb. We know that in order to call a national, international boycott against a major corporation, it requires more than Mysonne throwing out some sneakers, Tamika and Mysonne getting on the internet saying we're done with the brand. It takes more than that, right? It takes lots of folks to get involved. You got to get the message out beyond social media, because sometimes we live in the bubble of social media and think that all of our people are seeing and hearing it, and they're not. They just don't know. They don't know about what's going on. They're not necessarily following each person. The mainstream media is not going to cover it. So it takes more than that. But there is a community of people who do share your ideals and beliefs. They might not throw everything away in the incinerator, but they still have decided during this holiday season, and maybe for the rest of my life, I'm not purchasing Nike anymore because I don't like what I heard come out of Phil Knight's mouth. right? They have a right to that. We have a right to that. And all you got to do is you don't got to take the time to go on somebody's page and tell them about how I ain't boycotting Nike. I'm not, you don't have to do that. You can just keep moving and let the community that's building, that has made that decision, do what they are doing. So that,
Exactly.
because guess what? All of these corporations, if you really want to talk about it, every single one of them, I would say, except Ben and Jerry's, because they really try to do a good job of being an advocate, an ally, and an accomplice in the community. But other than that, I don't know many corporations that people shouldn't and can't say, I'm done with it for whatever reason. It's a million reasons. Amazon workers, right? If you ask Ben Crump right now, he's going to tell you about all the people that he's suing for different things that has happened. Johnson & Johnson and the cancer products with the powder. Over here, it's something. So protecting brands at this point, we don't have to do that. Somebody could just wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I decided I don't support such and such no more. And I bet you we can find reasons to back up what that person is saying about these white-led corporations, right? So I deal with that. The next thing is, I saw people on my page when I posted Phil Knight, and it might take me a little second to explain it, but it's important. I saw people on my page when I posted Phil Knight's statements saying, why are you supporting anti-Semitism by saying, you know, by supporting Kyrie and boycotting Nike? And and some of the people who said it, I looked at some profiles, some of them were white folks. And it really pissed me off, because what people do is they understand the ability to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time in their own community. They can say, well, we can challenge an individual for doing something that is harmful or wrong or whatever, and then still maybe, you know, let them come back to work. As we saw, Kyrie's going to make money for the NBA, for the Nets. He could go back to work, so they can reconcile that two things can happen at the same time. They can reconcile in their own communities how they can support, some people can support the relationship that the US has with Israel, Palestine, but then also say that they want to see the conflict end and the people of Palestine be made whole. So they can reconcile those two things. Why is it so difficult for people to see and understand that from our perspective, Kyrie apologized for what he did? You and I have been very clear in explaining that a denial of the Holocaust and anything that makes a people, the white Jews, evil, that's something we don't support. Kyrie also said that. He apologized. They said, well, it took him too long. Listen, we are human. We are human, right? And so he got to the point where he understood it. He said he was defensive. He understood it. He apologized. He did what he had to do. We can say, Kyrie, and we can say, by the way, Nike has the right not to do business with him anymore. They got every right to do that. What we're talking about, just like we have learned about anti-Jewish tropes, so saying things like, well, you know, they control everything. Those are things that is harmful to the Jewish community because of the history of how them being in control of everything makes them look, and the fact that there are people who literally want to harm them for that statement, right? We can understand that. Why is it so hard for people to understand that saying a Black man stepped over the line from a white man at his age that comes from a certain era, that is also, or that is an anti-Black trope? I don't get it. I don't understand why that's not clear, that I can challenge the film. I can also ask the question of why Amazon still has it up. I can also appreciate Kyrie standing up like a man and saying that he apologized. And I cannot like the way that Phil Knight spoke about a Black man. Is that hard?
It's hard when you don't want it, when you don't want to understand what's going on, when you just want to focus on something because you want to deflect and you don't want to deal with the whole situation in totality, of course it's hard. It's almost impossible for somebody that doesn't want to listen to reason or be able to have or want you to have proper discernment, right? They want you to focus on something when we're talking about there's a whole pie and they will look, the little burnt piece right there. You're like, yeah, but there's a whole pie here. And I'm gonna talk about the whole pie. We see the burnt piece, we're gonna say it's burnt, but we're gonna talk about the whole pie. So, it's actually deflection and it's gaslighting.
And well, right, because we've learned a lot about gaslighting over the last several years. My last point is that, as I said, everybody does things differently. I'm not going to go take every pair of Nike. By the way, I probably wouldn't even have any sweatsuits to wear other than Until Freedom if I gathered up all my Nike sweatsuits, because that's pretty much all I have in there, even though I'm more than likely not going to be wearing them. But nonetheless, I probably won't throw it all in the incinerator. I probably will never. It's 2 pair of Nikes that I have that I'm telling y'all right now, I'm probably still going to wear. But the rest of it, it's not that serious to me. I'm not that caught up in, I have to have any of it, when I understand that the level of disrespect that I felt, or the way that I felt, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to hear a white man use certain language because it triggers me. And then when I put on his brand, I'm walking around with that on me. I don't want that, right? So I'm probably never going to put it on again. And but I do recognize that there may come a day when there's a new man that heads Nike, right? There's a new spirit that comes into Nike that makes us feel better. And we feel like, okay, this brand is back in our good graces, and I might pull it back out. That's my choice, but I can't be mad at you because you choose to say you're never wearing it again. That's what this freedom of choice is supposed to be.
And that's what it is. It's, for me, it's like I've come to a conclusion in my life that especially as Black people, we controlled by certain things, right? Because even the anxiety of me saying, damn, I ain't gonna be able to wear my sneakers, I'm getting rid of my sneakers, and I'm like, yo, this shit is just sneakers. Like, what is it about these sneakers that make me feel some level of pain or frustration? Why do I feel attached to some shit that don't define me, has never done nothing for me? It's actually the people who actually own this would do things to harm me and probably have invested in things that harm me. So why do I need to be connected? Now, I don't have any problem with somebody else, but I just think what happens is when you have a level of strength and power, when you self-empower, it bothers people. I realize that. I'm very passionate about things that I do. I'm very bottom line-ish. When I get to my mind that some shit is bottom line, it just is what it is for me. And I notice that it bothers people who don't have that, right? It bothers people who just want to be status quo and want to peacefully coexist. I can coexist with somebody who loves Nike. Is a lot of the artists, and I love, and I'm gonna see them, and I'm not gonna. And I don't feel a way that you love Nike, but you shouldn't feel a way that I don't give a fuck about it. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what it is. When you don't have a level of power and you don't have strength to do certain shit, you envy it in somebody else, and I think that's where a lot of it comes from. Because I keep asking people, what does my sneakers do to harm you, whether I throw them away or not? Why does it make you feel away? Do you work for Nike? Are you getting am I doing something to take away from your reality? I don't speak about things unless I feel like they negatively affect something that I actually stand on. I represent, that I benefit from organizations that I'm connected to. Usually when you hear me, it's talking about violence, it's talking about negativity, it's talking about things that are affecting these kids in a negative way. If I speak about somebody that does, that contributes to those things, that's what that's what the gripe is. For my personal sneakers should never be a gripe with nobody. There should never be a gripe what I do, because if I wouldn't have told you, you wouldn't know. And I did it because I know there's some people that want to unplug from this shit. It's people that want to be like, yo, this shit don't define me. And they don't see nobody else that they respect or see nobody that they have a level of respect or understanding for take that type of stance. So I wanted to make it seem like, yo, you ain't the only one that don't care about none of this shit. If you want to separate and get out this matrix, then it's some of us that's doing it. And it was a representation of it, man. I was actually advertising us separating ourselves from some shit that don't mean us no good. So I don't know about clout chasing. I've never been a nigga to chase clout. I don't even know what that is. That's somebody else. But I understand we live in the internet era and everybody else is advertising their way of life and they're advertising their mentality. And a lot of that shit is rubbing off negatively. So I wanted to give my advertisement on what I stand on and get the people that want to follow that and believe that that's something to stand on, something, somebody that's a representative to say, fuck it, I want to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And you know what I think is the last point is that, and Janice on our production team, she made a very good point earlier today that we are so connected to these brands that we would rather buy from the brand, no matter how much it's killing our pockets or whatever, then we will support our own. And that's something that all of us have fallen victim to. I personally buy from anybody. Like I could buy from whatever community. I went to Africa and you saw me. I went crazy buying everything that I could. My parents instilled that in me from a young age because the Mark 100, first of all, Mark 125 that I wish they could, for someday, please bring it back. If there's anybody out there listening, the Mark 125 was the most special place in Harlem because it was right on 125th Street. And it was a big open mart that had all Black people selling jewelry, coats. I mean, there was a few non-Blacks, but it was Black people heavy. Even the food and the food court, all of that was cultural. People doing nails. I used to do nails in the mart. Can you believe that? I was in like a nail person at the time. I wasn't that great. It lasted about 2 weeks. But nonetheless, so I was there. Then, we used to have all the vendors outside. I've always found cool things with vendors that I can add to my look. Also the Mart 125, the Mart 116th Street, which is now, and for anybody who's in Harlem, who's listening to this, you could go to 116th Street in Harlem right now today. And the African community is there. They can make anything you want them to make in terms of dresses, putting fabric on suits. So I've always been into that. And I buy stuff from brands. Absolutely. I buy from brands. I buy from friends. I'm one of those people. Sometimes I get messages from boutiques online, right? Because one of the things I got to do better is that I actually purchase things in my own name. That's probably something I need to change. But if I see something I like on Instagram, I click the people's page, purchase their little dresses and different things. I'm not that good with putting it on and showing it. But I do that. My book tour, I had a bunch of Black brands that the stylist pulled for me and or purchased items for me. But I get messages from boutiques all the time like, wow, or they'll put little notes in my box when the things come and say, thank you so much for supporting us. And it's a direct purchase. And again, I buy brands. So I do all of that. We give Black people a lot of money around this country when we go, if it's a bus company for a tour, if it's food. Shout out to Quita, our chef in Kentucky. Instead of us going into a city and eating food from folks that we're protesting against that know us and we don't know who's cooking in the kitchen, we hired a Black woman who cooked for us every day, 2 times a day. The security team, the car services, everything that we do, we try to employ. If it's not Black, it's brown, it's our people. And even if it is white folks, it's white folks that's conscious about the issues. And so all we're saying is, like you said, if we feel it and it feels disrespectful, we don't need you that bad anyway. Just don't. So it's that quick. It can just be over without a problem. And there it is.
And with that said, brings us to the end of another dope episode. Shout out to Thabiti Stephens. And with that said, brings us to the end of another great episode of the #1 podcast in the world, Street Politicians. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Thabiti Stephens for his masterclass that he gave us today. And shout out to y'all for supporting us, man. Keep on tuning in. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like, what you want to hear. Follow us at Street Politicians Pod on Instagram. DM us. Give us your feedback, man. We appreciate y'all. Once again, I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D, Mallory is not gonna always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Listen to Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio.
And catch us every single Wednesday for the video version of Street Politicians on iWomen.tv.
That's how we own it.